Let's invite the housing options panelist up to the front, and we'll move through the audience and take questions from our online audience as well.
I do have a question about ADUs, but first I want to make a comment about what I hear over and over when we talk about housing and its place in Plain. And I'm hearing over and over, we are blaming seniors for our housing situation at this point, that they want to choose another place. When I think there are a variety of reasons. I have neighbors who are in their 30s and 40s who don't have children, and we're not blaming them for the housing problem. We are not blaming builders who are buying small affordable houses in neighborhoods and putting them million-dollar homes that a lot of people can't afford. We're not blaming East Lansing because there are students in there. I think if Claire Luss was here, she may call us ageist for saying things like that. So I think we have to be careful what we're saying and accusing seniors who want to stay in their homes of doing something wrong. So there's my soapbox. But my question about ADUs is how are they taxed in communities?
I'll just say for Lansing, there won't be, well, they will, the way that they'll be assessed for that taxable value is they'll be, so you have your single family house and they'll just have another dwelling unit on top of that, that will be assessed. So both units will be assessed for your property taxes. I don't have hard numbers of how that might impact the normal tax bill, but I can follow up with that.
So it'd be kind of the same rate.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Something to keep in mind as well is that when we talk about accessory dwelling units, they are not severed from the original single family residence. So it is similar to adding an addition onto a home in that regard. And the tax liability would be for the original owner in essence. Because when you sell, if that homeowner says, okay, I've decided that I want to move either by design or by need, the property, both the single family residence and the ADU go together. They are a package.
So they're taxed as one house.
Correct.
Okay,
Thanks. That's my understanding at least.
This is a question from the online audience for Dave. Are the cottages owned or rented?
Yeah, that's a good question. They're owned by me. I rent them. The intent is to convert it to, which is what I agreed to with the city of Lansing when we started all this. It'll be converted to a condominium style project. So, which is my intent too, is in my retirement, I can sell one a year and, buy my groceries. So yes, right. Currently, because of the way we still haven't done the condominium documents. So getting back to this question about taxing, for instance, there's 9 parcels and there's 14 buildings on the site. So on one parcel, there's maybe a house, but on several of the parcels, there's, I guess like an ADU, there's 3 houses on one parcel. And, and it's taxed based on the value of those houses on that parcel. So that's just, another layer of the complication of doing something like this, but yeah, that's a good question.
On that same subject, is there a chance that a deed restriction can be placed on these 8 units so they will not be sold to private equity firms?
Yeah, it's a great question. At this point, none that I have instituted. I mean, it's just a piece of real estate and somebody could come and, offer the moon for the whole project and whoever owned it at the time could sell it. I mean, that's never been my intent. I mean, I have. What happens when I die? Maybe I can talk to you later about it. No, those are all great questions. Yeah, it's a great idea. And, the current owner, I'm going to keep it and use it like my intent is that it will be a community for seniors, including myself, to live. But it is indeed a very valuable piece of property at this point, and something's going to happen. And so at this, that's a good question. I mean, I haven't thought, I'm trying to think through all those issues, but I haven't thought about it.
For Lansing, our ADU ordinance will be homeowner occupied restricted, so they will have to be deed restricted to have the person living on them, either in the unit or in the principal house always. So they will not be sold to some kind of rental agency or.
So as I mentioned, owner occupancy requirements are one of those pieces to understand. If your community allows ADUs, typically the local units will enforce an owner occupancy requirement through things like a deed restriction. With often the premise being that to keep out the unscrupulous landlords, so to speak, and larger rental groups that are looking to just maximize profit per square foot. So that's something to definitely understand. Those owner occupancy requirements though can create issues in terms of financing, because when you go to a bank and you say, I'd like to pull out some equity in my home to be able to build an ADU, the bank will look and see that there's an owner occupancy requirement, and the bank will say, well, if you foreclose for whatever reason, the bank can never reside in the property, in which case they may be more hesitant to do a home equity loan. So there are things to consider. Typically, owner occupancy requirements are considered a restrictive measure, and AARP generally advocates against them. We think that ADUs can be done in a responsible way, but it is a consideration. We actually see it in the city of Lansing. Council members are talking about concerns in terms of rental stock and renters, but that's typically an indication of a larger issue that needs to be discussed and talked about more.
Why don't we just go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, panel members, very much, so interesting. Dave, one more question for you. Do you have any cottages with the second floor being accessible? Like a stair lift or something like that? Or do you have any one-story units?
So the design, no, to answer the question, no. The design of these is such that the first floor is handicap accessible, has the roll-in shower, has a bedroom, has everything a person would need without doing stairs. The second floor has 2 bedrooms and a full bath for the caregiver. And so that's sort of the design of these. There's not a way, it wasn't really a practical way to make it totally handicap accessible. But, first floor on each one is at grade. And that's where the person who needs that kind of environment is.
We have a question here. Yeah, the other really appealing thing about Cottage Lane, the only cottage development right now in the city of Lansing, is that what Dave began to do early on is to bring in a geriatric social worker every Wednesday who would meet with all of the folks who lived in Cottage Lane and for a couple of hours and, deal with whatever issues that come up and also build kind of social ties between the people living there.
We have a question here.
Yeah.
This is for Joan. You gave us a nice history lesson on all the housing and did a great job at that. And I'm just wondering, with the boarding house being in effect for so long, how is that regulated or permits or how zoning or like what is it? How can you have a boarding?
Oh, how can I have
Yeah,
a boarding house?
yeah.
Right now?
Yes.
Well, because boarding houses are allowed in the city of Lansing. It's the language is kind of archaic and fuzzy, and one of the things that the new piece of legislation, new changes will do is to clarify what boarding houses are, what rooming houses are. Rooming houses are those places that where the owner resides. I live in my house and I rent to a couple of boarders. That's a rooming house.
Okay.
Boarding houses are those houses that rent the rooms, individual rooms to folks, and provide access to shared living space, dining rooms, kitchens, laundries and so on, but where the homeowner does not reside on site. So that's the difference. In addition to the new, to the zoning changes, offering some clarification on rooming houses and boarding houses and, what's the difference?
Right.
They will also allow for more folks to live in my house than do currently. Not as many as I would like, but it does increase the number. And
Do you have a special licensure or
No,
anything
I
like
don't.
that?
because I'm living there.
Okay.
I don't even register as a rental.
Okay.
A boarding house, on the other hand, has to be registered, as a rental with the city. Regarding the feedback on blaming, my apologies if it sounded like I was blaming
Oh, no,
seniors
no.
for hanging out to their, mortgage-free homes. I'm one of them. My essential point, hopefully, is that we need more options. Wonderful if we can hang on to our homes. I've been there for 45 years. I'd like to spend a few more years there. But what we lack is alternatives. And hopefully changes like those being considered by the Lansing City Council and other municipalities will offer that.
We have another question here.
Well, thank you for the panelists' great presentation, great insights. I'm a professor in the School of Social Work, so Dave, if you still need a geriatric social work intern for your community, you can reach out to me. Our students have opportunity, and our geriatric social program is funded by the Vandy, who is sitting next to you. Actually, this is my first time to see 3 urban planners on the panel. My question is related to probably for Andy. When talking about all those ideas about like 15 minutes away from all those adjacent amenities like grocery stores, can we speak to the possibility how you translate or transport those ideas for rural communities? We have a large online audience from East Piming, the UP. Those are wonderful ideas, particularly for some like remote rural areas, how we can apply those, even including the cottage for Dave's ideas, how we can translate from ideas for rural communities, which 60 out of 83 counties in Michigan is rural. Many of our older people live in rural communities.
I don't have a good answer for that. Just 'cause I live in Lansing and my focus has been kind of urban communities. So that's a great question and a great concern. And well, even in our urban communities, there's food deserts, there's just the way that commercialization and globalization has worked. So many things have gone online, so many things are deliverable. And what we see in our corridors are just auto-centric businesses. We don't have those small businesses. We don't have those mom and pop businesses anymore as much. And yeah, I don't have answers to those issues, but that's a great one. And yeah, I would love to speak more on that and maybe do some more research.
I have a question. I have a question for Jim. You talked about the roads, and 15 years ago, I was younger, yes, I was more able. Now I have trouble walking and am unstable. My neighbor here has been, they're living next to me for over 50 years. My husband has lived with me over 50 years. We have cracked sidewalks that 15 years ago, we counted. We walked hours tediously around our block, marking each sidewalk that was up 5 inches or all cracked or all gravel. Nothing in the whole wide world has happened for all our efforts. Why in the world can the roads mainly get some work done, but the sidewalks that we promised to help people with, they have got nothing. Of course, we're in Lansing and you're in East Lansing.
Well, I agree with Andy, sidewalks are a problem.
We walk in the street.
Yes, and we're working on a master plan in East Lansing to include some of these issues and regulate some changes. Landon would be able to explain that much better. I'm here substituting for him on a very short notice, but the one thing we have done is got pedestrian crossings from one bad sidewalk to the other. In East Lansing, you notice Harrison Road and Coolidge Road and some other places. have pedestrian crossings marked. There's one, I believe, on Bircham Road by the high school, but like I say, the sidewalks on either side, my neighborhood, there are no sidewalks. People just built right up to the curb with lawns and landscaping. In fact, one block north of me, they have sidewalks. So there are some needs, although I'll be assessed if they decide to put a sidewalk in. I'm on a corner lot, so.
Yeah.
But the idea is, yes, there's a school just a block and a half away. We need to get the children to the school without them walking in the street. We have a lot of families on my block. I think there's 4 families with school-age children, and parents walk their children to school just to be safe. So please advocate for it. I can certainly advocate for it.
Thank you.
We got a question that's online. It came in advance, so it's a long question, and I'm sure this is the total group to answer the question. This person is working from home and taking care of their parents, but they need assistance with someone coming to the home every day to assist getting parents up, moving, breakfast, taking meds every morning, etc. What resources are available for this? And also, is there any financial assistance offered for this? Follow along with that, what if I need financial assistance to help take care of my parent? What resources would look into? And lastly, what is the program that was just mentioned for public housing assistance for homeowners? Where do they find this info?
I would suggest that people check out their county services for aging in this area. That's TCOA, Tri-County Office on Aging. And the question about assistance with housing.
I think it was the mortgage tax credit that was referred to.
Oh. Yeah, it was.
I think that was referenced.
I can't speak to that, but I can speak to, so this is a question, AARP, obviously, advocates on many issues, caregivers is one of them. My recommendation for, this individual first, there's a great resource, called 211. Which you may have heard of. It's just like 911, but instead of going to emergency services, you call 211 and you say, I need help with food, I need help with housing, I need help with caring for an older adult. And the individual you'll be speaking to will find out where you live. They'll be able to connect you with the resources directly in your community. So there's that one first. Of course, the area agencies on aging were mentioned. They are great partners. They provide direct services locally in communities, and they are all across Michigan. That is always a great place to go. AARP has been working with the state legislature to advocate for what are called caregiving resource centers that are located within the AAAs so that caregivers can understand this labyrinth that is created in terms of segmented resources that you've got to spend almost have a full-time job figuring out what they are, which is unfortunate. And then additionally, in terms of financial support, I'm not aware of a direct financial support program for caregivers, but AARP is advocating at the state legislative level for a income tax credit for unpaid caregivers. We're also advocating for that same tax credit for unpaid caregivers at the national level as well. So if you go to aarp.org, you can learn more about that work. We actually, little inside baseball, because I work a lot with the state legislators. We have a state legislator, I won't say yet because it hasn't been officially introduced, but who has said that they are willing to introduce a income tax credit for unpaid caregivers, and we're hoping to have that announced in the next month or two. So very exciting things. I wish I had a better answer in terms of something that would be available to help you now, but there are groups and organizations that are advocating for this because it is a recognized deficiency in our system.
Just a caveat on that same answer, if it's a veteran, if the parent or the caregiver is taking care of a veteran, they found their veteran status, please reach out to 1-800-MISHMED. we have resources there to help with the veterans in the state. Just a caveat on that. My question really is to Andy, when you talked about the complete neighborhood concept, I think it's awesome. And to the gentleman's comment over there and question over there, I would highly encourage you to look at DOD's community planning model that they use on military installations now. Because the way they use that now, and the way our communities are built on military installations, it is a complete neighborhood community concept. So something I could direct you to maybe take a look at that and see if maybe you can get some ideas from that, specifically in the rural areas also.
Absolutely, thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Any other?
I'm not quite sure how to pose this. I live in East Lansing. It seems to me that if we're interested in expanding housing and expanding affordable housing, that there are two very similar issues. One of them is ADUs. The other is allowing people to live in existing houses who are not related. They have extremely similar purposes, it seems to me. The overlay districts in East Lansing go in the opposite direction. How can we, it seems to me, we want to make progress on both of them. How can we do this? And maybe a question is, I'd love to know more, and I'll look more at the changes, Andy, you've developed. Are you addressing both of these kinds of issues? It sounds like you are in Lansing. And do you have anything you can advise us in East Lansing, given the, difference in East Lansing?
I'll pass this to Jim and then Andy in just a second, but I think there is that people are galvanized, people are mobilizing around these issues, and we've referred to the shared use housing network in Lansing that formed about 18 months ago. And has been working with Andy since then, as he has crafted, with all the appropriate language, a whole set of zoning revisions that will allow for that whole range of shared use options, rooming houses, boarding houses, co-ops, cottage developments, ADUs, and I think it's like anything, you organize and you engage people that share your interests and your commitment to a particular issue. We all know how to do that. And before I pass this, I would also ask that any of you who are interested in joining the shared use network in Lansing, our next meeting is Friday, the 11th of this month at 10:30 at Allen Neighborhood Center. You are welcome. Certainly if you live in Lansing, but wherever you live, if you want to meet some folks who are involved in this kind of work, all volunteers. And then also come to that meeting, the public hearing at Lansing City Council on the 21st. And just be a presence if you don't want to speak, but to convey to council that there is a broad base of support for increasing the options available for shared use living. So join us.
As another resident of East Lansing, I can understand that issue because it's been around a long time. And my best recommendation would be if we can get the Age-Friendly Community Steering Committee and the Senior Commission interested in these two issues to make some presentations to us about what you think would be a good solution. I know the commission can only make a recommendation to the council, but you can get that information to them. I know our mayor attends the senior commission on a regular basis, and that will get council's attention. So that's where I stand about community activism, getting out there and advocating. Yeah.
Oh, well, I can answer as well. So, and I've said this phrase to Joan as well, so from AARP's perspective, we're most interested in ADUs. But whether it's ADUs, cottage developments, boarding homes, co-ops, no single one of these is a silver bullet to address the needs of having affordable and accessible housing in any community. But all of them together create a wealth of options, and when you have options, you have flexibility, and you can you're able to get out of that cycle that Andy talked about in terms of being stuck. And having those options is I think one of the ways. And there's also included in those options that needed, as our research tends to talk about, we need to build more housing, just in general, new homes that are affordable. But ADUs, cottage developments, co-ops, and boarding rooms are an additional piece to that grand puzzle to hopefully address the issue.
I guess it would be for Andy, if I'm not remembering correctly. The city of Lansing, there's a lot of people here, is going through a charter revision review. Are you aware of anything in this review which are gonna answer some of these questions? Because we're gonna be voting on that pretty quick.
I don't, and I'm on the charter commission, I don't know of any, they're going right now line by line. More on technical issues, but I know there are some considerations for like anti-discriminatory priorities. But yeah, now is the time to advocate for housing options, to actually get that in the charter and have it mandated that way, not just the zoning, because the charter is our founding document. So yeah, to the advocacy portion, attend those meetings, write those meetings, let them know that those are the kind of things that you would want built into that charter rewrite.
I have a question. Our Capital Area Housing Partnership is represented here with the vendor table. And I know they offer low income and subsidized housing. Marcus, do you have anything or yeah? Did you want to make a comment about your services? Because I think it's very relevant. You're here today. There's a mic right behind you.
Yeah, I have been listening with great interest and very happy to be here today. We are Capital Area Housing Partnership, so we're a nonprofit with a mission of increasing affordable housing options for the Greater Lansing area. So, we're focused on direct service. So we offer the Tuesday Tollman program that helps with ramps and other accessibility modifications for residents in need in the Greater Lansing area. We also do some home repair programs, including helping seniors be able to do some of the maintenance projects to help them stay in their homes for longer. We also do classes and one-on-one financial counseling with a focus on housing. So that's for any resident in need, but a lot of older people exploring their housing options, looking at the potential to help explore different options around downsizing or connecting with subsidized housing or other resources in the Greater Lansing area too. So we also are developing affordable housing, rental, and single family to help increase the stock of affordable housing. So a lot of different ways that we work in the community. So we're one organization. The problem is, as we've heard today, multifaceted. So it's been very interesting to hear what a lot of other organizations are doing. I'm very happy to be part of this communication and the conversation.
Thank you, Leanna. Can you also explain how the Bailey's Community Center is the former Bailey School building in downtown East Lansing, which would make it walkable to the community of East Lansing? You have both market rate and subsidized apartments, I understand, in that building?
That is correct.
And then you also have the Jefferson Street Square in Mason, which is similar, that you offer both the market rate and subsidized?
Yep, that's correct. And the newest project is the Walter French building, which was just opened, 76 residential units in Lansing, in the center of Lansing. And that includes 11 permanent supportive housing units, for individuals that have been homeless or chronically homeless. So yeah, that's definitely part of what we do. We have a number of projects, and we're always looking for the next opportunity as well.
And may I ask where your funding comes from?
It's a variety of sources. So, I mean, the most recent project, Walter French, that was a combination of a number of different federal and state investment. So it's all about partnership building and looking at what funding is coming down. So a lot of it was from affordable housing tax credits, historic housing tax credits, and we had some investment from the state legislature as well.
Great, thank you. You're an important service for us. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Speakers? Is that it? I guess that's it. Lisa? Nothing online?
We're good.
Just